Plateau State University students protest. Ondo doctors threaten strike due to poor welfare package. Western Union, MoneyGram, others to pay Nigerians in naira instead of dollars. Netizens roast Femi Gbajabiamila over call for social media regulation. And Amnesty International charged Labour Party, PDP lawmakers to reject bill seeking to gag CSOs. Details now. The world news begins with youths in Osun State storming the streets to protest the high cost of goods and services in the country. The youngsters were led by leaders of civil society organizations in the state today in Osogbo, and they used the opportunity to urge the federal and state governments to save the country from imminent collapse. The protesters defied the heavy presence of police operatives near the scene of the protest as they assembled along MDS Road, Osogbo, very early this morning. They were armed with placards bearing different inscriptions such as "Change the unfavorable policies," "Nigerians are suffering, we can't cope again," and "We are humans, stop mistreating the citizens," amongst others. The chairman, Osun Civil Society Coalition, Wahid Lawal, said the protest would continue until the federal government thinks out solutions to the current economic hardship ravaging the country. Meanwhile, Plateau State University Baka students have initiated a protest to voice their discontent over the ongoing 3-month industrial action by members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. The disgruntled students marched through the main streets of just the state capital and concluded their demonstration at the Government House in Little Rayfield. There, they were welcomed and briefed by the Secretary to the Government of the state, Samuel Jeto. Lecturers of the university initiated an indefinite strike action in November 2023, citing various demands from the state government. Since then, students have remained at home without lectures, impacting the admission process for new students and leaving graduating students uncertain about the timing of their final examinations. The frustration led students to organize a protest, carrying placards with various messages to emphasize their demands. The secretary to the government of the state urged the aggrieved students to exercise patience as the government was addressing the concerns raised by the lecturers. Among the lecturers' demands are the provision of additional hostel accommodation, the completion of road networks on campus, and the provision of staff quarters. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Medical Association in Ondo State has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the state government regarding the inadequate welfare packages for doctors in the state. They have warned of potential industrial action if the Ondo State government fails to address their demands within the stipulated time frame. The stance of the Nigerian Medical Association was articulated in a communique issued after the association's ordinary general meeting, which expressed dismay over the persistent departure of doctors from the state due to inadequate welfare packages. Additionally, the non-implementation of the approved hazard allowance and salary discrepancies between doctors in Ondo State and those in neighboring states were highlighted. Elsewhere, international money transfer operators will now pay Nigerian beneficiaries in naira instead of dollars and other foreign currencies as the case was previously. Based on the new regulation, banks will pay Nigerian beneficiaries in naira, not dollars, pounds, euros or others for international money transfers received through IMTOs. Now, VOP News gathered that the new rule, which is based on the directive from the Central Bank of Nigeria, affects IMTOs such as Western Union, MoneyGram, Rapid Transfer, RIA and others. According to a recent notice from EcoBank Nigeria, the CBN directive dated January 31, 2024 stipulates that all inbound money transfers to Nigeria via the above-mentioned IMTOs will be paid only in naira through a bank account or in cash at the prevailing rate in the Nigerian foreign exchange market. Now, the Chief of Army Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, was ridiculed earlier today for endorsing President Bola Tinubu's plan to regulate social media amid the country's economic crisis. The criticism caused him to trend for hours on X. Now, netizens excoriated Mr. Gbajabiamila and his principal, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for not prioritizing poverty alleviation, particularly when the cost of living crisis appeared dire. On Thursday, Mr. Gbajabiamila disclosed at a book launch that social media had become a societal menace that must be regulated due to the great danger it posed. For this statement, Nigerians in droves accused Mr. Gbajabiamila of attempting to clip the same wings that brought him to power and asked him to channel his focus on ending soaring inflation and the high rate of abductions in the nation. Elsewhere, right groups Amnesty International and Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project (SERAP) have called on lawmakers elected on the platforms of the People's Democratic Party to reject a bill currently on the floor of the House that seeks to gag civil society organizations in the country. Making this call in a post on its official X account, Amnesty International charged the lawmakers to immediately reject the dangerous oppressive bill reintroduced by an All Progressives Congress lawmaker, Sada Soli. The right group argued that the bill was targeted at violating the rights of Nigerians and caging the freedom of CSOs. On its part, SERAP tasked the minority lawmakers to reject the repressive bill, warning that it was an attempt by the government to crack down on human rights. You would recall that the House of Representatives considered a bill for an act to establish a regulatory agency for non-governmental organizations and civil society organizations. The chairman of the House Committee on Water Resources, Sada Soli, sponsored the bill, which seeks to regulate the promotion of social development activities in Nigeria and associated topics. In his lead discussion, Honorable Soli stated that the bill's primary goal is to establish the agency to ensure that NGOs and CSOs reach their full societal development potential, as well as to manage private-public development partnerships. However, the House resolved to step down its consideration of the bill. Now, I actually have joining me via the telephone a national political and social affairs commentator, one who is actually quite vocal about issues within the Nigerian polity, and that is Mr. Darlington. Mr. Darlington, good evening and welcome to the World News at 6.
Yeah, Esther, how are you and good evening?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having to stay with us on the World News at 6 and giving us your perspective on the issues, or rather the questions that I'll be throwing at you this evening. Mr. Darlington, you recall 2 days ago, or was it yesterday evening during the World News at 6, you made a statement or you made a prediction that this protest would definitely spread. Right? You actually said it. You said this protest will spread to other cities. Now, there's a situation, a foundational problem. The foundational problem started off right before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was inaugurated on May 29. One of the issues is the fact that a lot of critics and analysts like yourself felt there was a lot of things that were not ethered out by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A lot of secrets have shrouded his personality. Some critics believe that the United States of America was one strong tool that shielded the president from, a lot of anomalies. Others also feel that there was a connect that the president had in the United States that was protecting him. Now, this is the fallout from that shield and that protect that even the US themselves do not know what to do in regards to what is going on in the country. Besides whatever other persons could feel there are external interests in whatever it is they have within Nigeria. Would you agree with that line of thoughts, Mr. Darlington?
Actually, Tinubu created the problem that he is going through today. He is the one. Never in the history of any country have such a president be elected.
Okay.
With all the baggages Tinubu had, the Nigerians elected him, or let's assume the Supreme Court elected him. Mm-hmm. We now said, okay, after all, Saul later became St. Paul. Let us see what he would do. He now came into office. Instead of him to start doing things, at least to launder his image, to prove that he is truly a master strategist, to prove that he is no man, he started dancing to the tune of some people in the north. He started dancing to the tune of some people in Nigeria. He started dancing to the tune of some APC leaders who are telling him what to do and what not to do. The result is what you are seeing today. That is the truth. That means ab initio, Tinubu never had any plan of his own. He never did. He was depending on IMF and World Bank to tell him what to do and what not to do. And this is okay. Let the World Bank and the IMF come and save him now with this protest. Let them come and intervene on his behalf. That is why I've always told you that you cannot give what you don't have. If this man had a plan, a working plan, my dear, by now you would have started to see some, some light at the end of the tunnel. But as I speak to you today, things have gone so bad. They have gone so bad that the government is now trying to shut up people so that they will not be exposing what they are doing. That is where they are going now. All this noise about social media. Was it not social media that brought them to power? Before 2015, everybody saw what APC did to the PDP. All of a sudden, in their own case, is even worse because everything that is said about APC today is what they are doing. Is what they are doing. Nobody has ever said anything against them that is not true. And I challenge them to say otherwise. So what is the noise all about? What is the noise all about? They don't want to hear the truth. Then let's do the right thing. Everything that is going on today, Tinubu brought it upon himself. So let him not blame anybody.
Mr. Darlington, it's not about being blamed, all right? A lot of people are now going back. They're going way back in history. For example, let's talk about the fact that the president has complained. This came up yesterday during a book launch, and this was through Femi Gbajabiamila. According to the president, he feels that a lot of Nigerians and a lot of media organizations are exaggerating issues, and that he feels that social media is constituting a societal menace and literally almost causing a state of anarchy. Now, we do know that you could recall during the last, or rather the previous administration, you recall when you had the former owner of Twitter, what's his name? I've forgotten Jack Dorsey. Yes, that was when the NSAS protest was ongoing. The president made a tweet, right? And when he wrote that tweet, I think Jack Dorsey's team were responsible for bringing it down and upholding IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu's tweet. And then that was where the ruckus started. Afterwards, when that deliberation was on, after a while, the federal government said that for now, Twitter will be banned. At the time, Lai Mohammed was the information minister. Now, that platform is a platform that is supposedly unregulated. Now, Nigerians are able to express themselves unfiltered on how issues are affecting them. They're able to give their perception, hold opinions, air their opinions. Now on X, you have an opportunity to hold spaces. On such spaces, people can have audio conversations, converge together and talk. Now, although it is true that some individuals could be quite extreme on the kind of things they say on social media, but should this administration be bothered about that, or be bothered about having to curb the menace of poverty, insecurity, and the rise in prices of food across the country? That is what the conversation is all about.
My dear, if they try to do what they are trying to do, or what I'm suspecting, they will reverse it. The same way they reverse that on Twitter, they will reverse it because it is the same social media that they are using to bring about their propaganda. All the things that APC is churning out, is it not through this same social media? If Gbajabiamila is complaining about social media, what is that thing they said about him that is not true? That's what I want to know. After all, there are enough laws in our constitution to address any infraction.
Yes.
To address any infraction. So what is the essence? They should think twice. So what is that thing they have said about all of a sudden Gbajabiamila like that because they are talking about him, Abi? Was it not the President Buhari who said it during the Federal Executive Council meeting that he had that Gbajabiamila is corrupt, that he is collecting money to give people appointments? Was I the one that said it before the Federal Executive Council meeting? Was I the one?
Well,
so what is all this?
Mr. Darlington,
APC, they are very lucky. I'm telling you. All the other parties, they have tolerated them enough. I know what would have happened if another party were to be in office and they are doing all these things.
Mr. Darlington,
I know what APC would have done.
Mr. Darlington, here is the irony. I recall when the minimum wage conversation was being talked about, when Femi Gbajabiamila said that they were looking into it and that they would increase minimum wage. He said that they felt the pulse of Nigerians through social media. That they said they were able to deduce what Nigerians wanted. They listened to Nigeria's complaints through social media. Social media referring to X. This is the very same social media that they want to clamp down, or rather they want to regulate or censor. Is that possible? Is that something they can possibly make? And if they do so, in what way will this administration understand the pain of the people? How will the people communicate with them? Because we have an administration that doesn't address issues. They don't talk to the people. They rather send communication excerpts across through their spokespersons. So how will the people be able to express themselves unfiltered if social media is regulated or censored?
My dear, I have told you they will reverse it. If I call it, they will do it too. It will not take long before they will realize they are fully and then do the needful. They will come back just like they did under Lai Mohammed. They will reverse it. All these threats, it will not, rather it will make things worse. If they try to do this that I'm suspecting, my dear, that will be the end of this regime. I'm telling you, because the social media will not go underground. They are forgetting that the world is a global village. They are forgotten. People will not be sending things from outside Nigeria. Yes, you can. Okay, are you going to do that in US or UK? Will you do that in Canada? No. Are you going to all the Western world who are aware of what is going on here? Are you going to go and regulate them over there?
But what Femi,
we know what is going on.
What Femi Gbajàbíàmílà is saying is that, according to him, in a supposed sane perspective, as citizens become more interested in governance, it is the government's obligation to ensure that engagement with citizens springs with shared agreement on what the truth is and what is real and what is not. Now, this is where I have a situation with, or I have an issue with, or that is quite confusing to me. I'm going to create a scenario, a real life scenario. During the campaign, I recall at the time, Nigerians were asking President Tinubu now, who was just an APC presidential candidate, they were asking him to have a real-time conversation with the Nigerian press. The press already debates were held with all presidential candidates from various political parties. The president did not attend any one of them. He did not admit to any one of them. At the time, we expected that these conversations that would raise up, questions would be asked and the president would clear the air. At the time as well, that was when Atiku Abubakar, after INEC announced President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner of the February 25 elections, Atiku was trying to get evidence, right, concerning the president's forged document that was submitted to INEC, which is supposed to invalidate his win. At that process, the president refused to address that particular challenge. All he did was to send pleas through his lawyers to block Atiku Abubakar from having access to his academic records. Now, critics at the same time believe that there was somebody within the CSU, there was somebody in the United States that was shielding the president. That was why most of the time Atiku pushed, there was somebody blocking or there was somebody stalling. With all of this created a false impression on Nigerians about the president. The truth is what is real and what is not. And I just created a scenario to you how it is impossible for that to be, since from the fundamental aspect, supposedly no truth has come from them. So how would Nigerians know when they're saying the truth or not?
That is what I'm telling you. They don't want you to know the truth. That's why they want to regulate social media. They don't want you to know the truth, especially concerning him and the chief of staff. Is that not what brought about all this noise? They don't want you to know the truth and say the truth. That is the issue here. They came into office through propaganda, and they don't want another person to use it against them. That is what is going on here. If not, what is anybody going to say today about APC that is not true? That is the question I'm asking. Tell me that thing they are going to say that is not true about Tinubu or the chief of staff or APC. Is there anything? That is where you will start. Come and tell us that we are lying about you, your personality, your certificate, what happened at CSU. Or come and tell us that we are lying about Gbajàbíàmílà. Even the court in the US have already passed a judgment against him for theft. All those ones are there falsehood. So when you are talking about truth, no, Tinubu can never be truthful. It's not part of his character. It's not. After all, he told you that in politics you need to snatch it, grab it, and run with it. That is his own policy. And that's what he's doing. Look at it, since he came into office, all the things he has told Nigerians, mention one that he has fulfilled, that at least you look at it and say, this is a very good policy. He's working for Nigeria. Mention just one, I'm not saying two, one. So, I don't think he was saying, he just saying he didn't mean it. He didn't mean it because all his life, that is what he has lived with.
Mr. Darlington,
that is how he has been ruling his life.
Some members
and he has brought it into governance.
Mr. Darlington, some members of the All Progressive Congress, Mr. Darlington, some members of the APC have implored the opposition to try as much as possible to have a positive aura towards this administration. They have actually called them to see how they can advise this administration rather than mudslinging the administration or throwing dirt at him. At the moment, regardless of whatever narrative is out there, whatever false impersonation or false impressions according to the APC that Nigerians have of the president, the Supreme Court has affirmed him as the authentic winner of the February 25, 2023 elections. And so Nigerians should move on. In that regard, with most of the impression that Nigerians have, how would the opposition advise and ensure that the administration works for the benefit of all? Do you think that the opposition should be pro this administration and not criticize all the time?
Before they can even do that, Tinubu should come out and confess to Nigerians. Obi wants challenge him to come and identify himself. Obi challenge Tinubu to come and tell Nigerians who he really is. Did he do that? Tinubu, before he can ask anybody to look at him with a very, pass him in a good light, he should come and tell us, who are you? All the things that is, have you ever been able to say something about yourself? You are the chief marketing officer of Nigeria as a whole. Can you go outside and market Nigeria today? Can Tinubu go outside and market Nigeria? So why should you expect people to be talking good about him and his government when there is nothing on ground to prove it? Are you going to market Tinubu to anybody? Who will listen to you? Hold on. Are you going to tell anybody in the world today about Tinubu? They will just look at you and move on. They won't even listen to you. Leave the team. Go around the world. But you can't do that. Tinubu cannot touch any one leader today and talk to them about whatever in Nigeria. They will first ask us, who are you? If they ask Tinubu now, who are you? He can't answer that question. He cannot.
Well, for now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered that 42
let us survive these 4 years.
To curb the
That's
hunger.
What we are praying now.
To curb the
like,
hunger.
The last standard of our national anthem that says, "So help me God." That is where we are now.
Well,
so help me God.
The president has
Leave all
advised.
the other things that they have said about national anthem.
Mr. Darlington, the president has advised Nigerians to emulate the stance or the display of the Super Eagles by defending Nigerians at all time and uniting with the national anthem and the Nigerian pledge. That's what the president is saying. In fact, he has emphasized that the Nigerian pledge should be something that will be recited at any public fora. That strengthens unity and nationality. All right, Mr. Darlington.
Please, somebody should tell him that a hungry man does not recite national anthem. Those people who are protesting, can you go and tell them such a story?
Let's
they will tell you which national anthem.
Mr.
They won't recite it now.
No, Mr. Darlington, the Super Eagles win against Bafana. There was a sense of unity. The timeline was clean. It was beautiful. I love that nationhood. Everybody was a Nigerian. We could see people reciting the national anthem, the Nigerian pledge. I think that's what the president was referring to when he made that statement. Mr. Darlington, thank you so much for having to be part of the World News at 6.
Thank you, my dear.
Appreciate your intellectual input on the program, or rather on the news. Okay, to wrap up the world news at 6, here again are the top stories. You heard that Osun youth stormed the street, cry out over high cost of living. Plateau State University students protest. Ondo doctors threaten strike due to poor welfare package. Western Union, MoneyGram, others to pay Nigerians in Naira instead of dollars. Netizens wrote Femi Gbajabiamila over calls for social media regulation, and Amnesty International charges Labour Party PDP lawmakers to reject bill seeking to gag CSOs. That's a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Esther Wachiku at Estic Media on YouTube. Of course, across our social media handles is at VOP 903 FM. Good evening and thank you for staying with us. And of course, good luck to Nigeria on Sunday.